In this video, we'll be centralizing our settings data and creating a save manager to handle the saving and encrypting of our data while keeping it separate from the player data. In future videos, we'll be loading our data, polishing up our menu with some ease of access functionality like some input-friendly menus. We'll also add some level select, some stylization, and finally move on to basic and advanced AI. If you'd like to see that, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you get a notification and don't miss out on future videos. As always, if you run into any issues with the code, have a suggestion, or just want to say hi, don't forget to leave a comment. Now, let's move into our editor and start moving our data around. Now we are in our editor, we need to first think about how we plan on centralizing all of our data. Now, I've come up with a way of doing that. It may not be the most elegant solution, but it does actually work for what we wanted to do. So what we're going to first want to do is go into our autoloads. We're going to create a new script. And this new script is going to be called the settings signal bus. Now, I already have a signal bus created. I also have a settings data container created. These two are great. The settings signal bus specifically is going to be just containing everything to do with the settings, like signals for the settings, instead of our normal signal bus, which will contain signals for a lot of other game functionality. This is going to be kind of specific. Now, we're going to need to create quite a few signals for this, and this is a list that will just kind of get longer and longer and longer depending on how many settings you plan on using. Now, that is actually kind of a big downside, is there will be a relatively large script. Now, for much larger games, there will be a few different ways of going about this that might be a bit simpler. Now, writing save systems, centralizing data, it's not the most fun thing to do all the time. It can be quite monotonous, I guess. So let's start creating some signals. The very first signal we're going to create will be the signal for on_subtitles. Actually, if I go into the settings data container, we have this already set up. So we have this in our signal bus, which I set up in a previous video. So what I can do is just rip the signal out, because this doesn't need to go here anymore. It needs to go here. And then I can Control V. That's our on subtitles toggled signal. Now, downside to that is if I hit F5, it will crash. There we go. Now it will show us where the crash is. It is in our settings tab container for our subtitles specifically. So let's go and set up a autoload. We're going to set that autoload up to be the settings signal bus. Click add, click close. With this done, we can now call that instead of our signal bus, so settings signal bus. Shift Control S to save, hit F5, see whether this is going to error again. Is it going to error? Click, there we go. That's our next place. So let's go and change this. Now, if you already have a relatively large game set and ready, and you can't just easily go through and change this, that will be a bit of an issue. It's not impossible, it's just a bit of a pain. But with that done, I'm going to hit Control S, hit F5, go into options, go into accessibility, make sure that's changing, and it's all being sent through. It's doing everything we want it to do. So let's finish off, or at least keep creating all of our signals. The next signal will be for on_window_mode_selected. Now we're going to want to pass in an index, and it's going to be of type int. Then we'll do the signal for on_resolution. Resolution, there we go. Selected. This will also be an index of type int. Now we need to do them for our sounds. So signal on_sound_. Actually, let's do on master_sound_set. This will be a floating type, so we'll do value of type float. Now I'm going to copy paste this signal 2 more times, and then I'm going to change the second signal to music and the third signal to sound effects or SFX. Now with those done, we're going to need a couple more sounds to actually or a couple more signals, sorry, to kind of get everything sending and firing in the right places. Right now, this will all connect into the settings data container, but we're going to want to actually emit something from that container after we've kind of centralized all of our data afterwards. So we are going to write a new signal, and this will be for creating a settings dictionary. So this will just be called apply underscore, actually, create underscore settings underscore dictionary. Maybe create is a wrong word. Let's use set settings dictionary. And as the name kind of says, we are actually going to want to we'll call this the settings underscore dict, typecast it as a dictionary. And that will be that for our signals for now. Now, the next thing we need to do, because of how I set up my signals, is I create a function for each of these signals. So I'm going to very quickly go through and set that up. They are all set up in the same way this is set up, where I create a function with the correct parameters, typecast it as void, and then emit and then pass in the value. So I'm going to go do that now. I will probably end up speeding this up so you don't have to watch me type all of this out. Right, now all of the settings or signals that we actually need to kind of use are actually set up and ready for us. We now can go into our settings data container and start connecting these up. So I'm not going to be needing the these specific functions right now. Now, one thing I will say is when it comes to actually getting these, like basically loading our data, we're going to have to set up a kind of entire thing for that. Now, there's going to be basically get functions for all of that data. So something we'll worry about probably in the next video. For now, let's actually start creating our settings manager. Now, we're going to be needing quite a few variables for this. Very first one will be a var for the window underscore mode underscore index. We will typecast this as an int and set it equal to 0. Next one will be for the resolution underscore index. Typecast this as an int, set it to 0. And you'll probably notice what I'm doing here. I'm now creating a variable for all of the settings we plan on saving. So the master volume, typecast it as a float, set it equal to 0.0. Copy those. Set the last one to SFX. Set the second one to music. There we go. So those are the kind of basic variables. One more we need, of course, is the one for the subtitles. We'll call the subtitles set. Type as a bool and set this equal to, we'll just set it equal to false for now. So this is all of our variables that we'll currently need for all of our settings. We're going to create a new function. This will be for handling the signals. So handle signals as a return type void. Now we need to go through and connect all of those signals to this specific file and create functionality for all of those signals. As I said, this isn't the most elegant thing, but it gets the job done. So we're going to pull our settings signal bus and then use dot on underscore. Let's start off with the window mode because it's the first one or first variable we have. So on window mode selected dot connect. And we'll connect this to on underscore window underscore mode underscore selected. And now we're basically going to control C that, so copy that name so we have it. Create a new function for our new signal connection. I have double typed on here. Let's remove that really quickly. Now I could just use Shift D or Control D to select multiple lines. Don't see a reason to at the moment. There you go, type that as void. And now I'm going to write pass. Remember that the signal for on window mode selected requires an index, and it's going to be of type int. So now we go through and we basically connect all of these signals like we've just done. So let's go and get this set up as well. I will probably do the same thing. There's going to be a lot of speed ups in this. Right, that should be all of our functions set up and ready. Let me just go through and kind of line these out correctly. There we go. That's all of our signals connected. Now we're going to want to pass that handle signal into the ready function. So this is actually going to go through and connect all of our signals. I just prefer to create a function for this because this can get quite big depending on how large your game is or how small your game is. Really depends. So we have all of our functions set up. Or at least all the connections and all of the functions. Now, inside the functions, we're going to basically use the variables that we have created and set them equal to these specific parentheses or parameters that we're passing through. So in this case, for window, it'll be window mode index equals index. Resolution, so resolution index equals index. Subtitles, so subtitle set equals the toggled. On master sound, so we'll grab the master sound or master volume, change that to value, and do the last two. So last one is music, volume equals value, and finally sound effects, volume equals value. Now, this is all of our data being kind of stored in a place right now. This is kind of storing it inside these variables. That's great. Now we actually want to create a proper storage for these, something that this will kind of get, well, all of this will get put into, and then we can kind of return that variable, as I said in the past, a dictionary. So let's go and set that up now. Now, there are a few places you can set this. I personally like to set this up at the top. That way I can kind of see my dictionary from the start. So we're just going to write func create underscore storage underscore dictionary. This will be returning a dictionary. So no more void. We're going into dictionaries. We're going to create a new variable inside of this called the settings underscore container underscore dict. Typecast that as a dictionary instead of equal to, and then open our curly brackets so we can be ready to actually sort our dictionary out. Now, you can do nested dictionaries. You could also kind of change all of these into set resources and then load those resources up and store those into resources, or store this data into a resource and then kind of pass it on as you go. That's actually a pretty good way of doing it. In the future, when our settings get much larger, that's probably what we will end up turning this into. But for now, this will do. So let's have a look at this. Let's first create our return for this. So it will return the settings container dictionary. I'm also going to put a quick print statement in here. So we're going to print the settings container dictionary as well. Now we need to start setting up the keys and values for our dictionary. So our first key, in quotes or double quotes, will be window underscore mode underscore index. And it will be for the window mode index. And you'll probably see where I'm going with this again. So we'll do it again. Resolution underscore index. Just to the, I'm now not getting autocorrect, and that would be because I forgot to put in a, there we go. So resolution index. Now, a very quick thing, if you really want to get autocorrect and make sure you don't make typos, what you can do is you can type out the original variable, master volume, use Control Shift, and then go to the beginning of the line to select the whole thing. Then you can just press the double quotes and it will encapsulate those in double quotes for you. That way you can kind of speed through this a little bit faster and not make any mistakes. So music volume, do the same thing. So that equal to the music underscore volume. Then we'll do one more for the SFX volume. Now let's finalize the last one for the subtitles toggled or subtitles set. And think about hotkeys, because one thing you're always, of course, going to want to save is hotkeys. Now, this is why you can do something like nested dictionaries, where you will create a master dictionary, then you'll create a dictionary for the display settings, the music settings, accessibility settings, and then finally hotkeys. You can do that, and that is completely okay. If you want to know how to do that, we'll either do it in a future video, or you can Google how to do nested dictionaries in Godot. But for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new variable. It's going to be called move left. And then I'm going to set this equal to input dot action underscore get. Sorry, input map dot action underscore get underscore events. And then I'm going to pass in the string name of the action we want to use. In this case, move left. Now I'm going to do that a few more times for move right and jump. So this will be move right, change that to right. I'm going to use Control D to highlight both of these and just change this to jump. Now we are going to be saving the events specifically for our hotkeys. Why are we saving all of the events for hotkeys? Well, this for now will be the easiest way to save our hotkeys, and then we will create a new system for actually loading them. And it will basically go through what we set up in the past, where we will kind of tear down the hotkeys until we get the individual key code and then set that. But this is our creating the storage dictionary done. So what we can do now is very quickly call create storage dictionary, hit Control S, and see what this prints out. Right now, it should not print anything out. There you go. The only thing that it's printing out correctly is the event keys, which in this case is our controls. So you'll see down here, input event, key code A for move left, that is correct. Right is D, and jump is space, which is, there you go, space. So with those set, we now need to actually kind of return this, which we're doing, and use this somewhere. Now, how do we plan on returning this? There are a few ways you can do this. You can launch a signal from here directly and then pass in the dictionary, or you can call this somewhere. And there is actually a place we're going to want to call this. So for me, and what I want to do is above our settings tab container, so more specifically in the, if I go into the options menu folder and go down to the options menu, there we go, we have our exit button, and we have a script attached to our options menu. And right here, we have on exit pressed for this exit button. Well, this is where I'm going to want to omit that function. So I'm going to go settings, settings signal plus dot omit set settings dictionary. Now we're going to pass in the settings container dot create storage dictionary. Control S and save. So now we are emitting a signal and creating the dictionary, which will return a dictionary and then pass that through. This signal requires the dictionary. So now what can we do with that? Well, let's go and create one final auto load. And this will be for our save manager. So this will handle the saving and loading functionalities of our game. So let's go create a save manager. Let's add this in the auto loads. So save manager, click add, click close. And now go and open up our save manager. Now, saving in Godot is relatively simple, and it really kind of depends on how you want to save. You could save resources, which I've heard is semi-unsafe, or you could save into JSON or XML. I think there's a few different file types you could save into. So first, let's go and set up a constant. We're going to call this the settings underscore save underscore path. This will be of type string, and we now need to pass in the save path. So the actual save path is going to be under user, then user colon, // And now you can name your file. I'm going to call this the settings data.save. You can name this a few other things. I'm just going to use settings data.save because it makes it kind of clear and obvious. Don't forget to put an equal sign after you typecast. There we go. So this is the name of our save file and the file type. So let's create a new variable, and this is going to be called the settings_data_dict, which is going to be of type dictionary, and it's going to be an empty dictionary specifically. Now let's go into our ready function and connect the signal that we created for creating our dictionaries. So let's go, there you go, settings signal bus. And then we want to grab that set_settings dictionary, and then we want to use .connect, and we want to pass in a new function. So on settings underscore, actually, let's just call this on save, or let's be even more specific, on settings save. Then create a new function for on settings save. We'll pass in a variable called data, and it will be of type dictionary. Do a void return type and move into the function. So all we're going to do is handle the saving of the data. That's actually relatively simple, as said. What we have to do is create a new variable. We're going to call this the save_settings_data_file. So this is going to be specifically the file. We're going to set this equal to a file access dot open underscore. Now, here's a quick thing. We're going to be using open encrypted with pass. So what is open encrypted with pass? Well, it encrypts and decrypts files using a password. You may not have to do that with settings data specifically, and some people may actually say, don't do that with settings data. I am actually one of those people usually. Now, why is because if you have an issue with a game, and I've had this in the past where I have set something in the settings and for some reason it causes repeated crashes. But because I had no access to the data inside the game to actually change like settings, I couldn't change it back in any way without having to uninstall, reinstall, like clean, uninstall, reinstall. So you may not want to have encrypted with this, but because I can, I'm going to show you. So what we have to do is open encrypted with pass. And then we want to pass in our save path. And then we want to use file access dot write, because we want to write to file. Now we want to pass in a password. For now, I'm just going to use coffee crow. That's it. That's all we need to open up an encrypted file with a password, or in this case, write to a encrypted file with a password. Now, a very good thing to do if you are kind of pushing for kind of monetary release, I suppose, is actually changing this password to something a little bit more secure. You could use something along the lines of 1Password to generate one of those really, really long passwords and then pass that on here, make your save data quite safe. Now, do you want to go to that length? You don't really have to. It is entirely up to you on how safe or how encrypted you want your game to be. Now, with that done, we want to create a new variable. And this is going to be in the JSON format. So let's just create and call this JSON underscore data underscore string. So this is going to be a string for our JSON data. We're going to set it equal to JSON in full caps dot stringify. And then we're going to pass in our data as the stringified value. And now all we have to do is grab our save settings data file, then hit dot store underscore line. So this will go line by line and store each line of the JSON data string. And that is it. That is our save data actually completely set up and ready to go. Now, how do we test this? Let's hit Control S to save and hit F5 to run the game. Now, as we set it up so it fires through this exit button. I'm going to go and change move left to space. I'm going to hit exit. I'm going to hit exit game. Now we can go into project, open user data folder, and right here is the settings data.save that we open. Now we can open this in a notepad. Set to always. There we go. And you'll see this is our encrypted data. Perfect. Now, if you want to have a look at what this looks like without encrypted data, you just write .open, remove the password. You're going to have to, if you want to remove the encryption on this, you're going to actually want to go and delete your original save data, and then hit F5, launch it again. Let's go change move left to Q, move right to E, and jump to W. Hit exit game, go and open our user data folder, open this up, and there you go. Here is all of our saved data. So we've got the jump to W, we've got the master volume, how low that is set, mine is currently set at 0, all of the other things that we kind of want set up and ready to go. Now I'm going to use Control Z to bring back the open encrypted with pass, and I'm going to show you what happens if I hit F5 and open. It works fine. Coffee Crow from the future. I apparently completely blanked on actually showing how to use a lot of the signals that we've just created, so I'm going to very quickly go through that. So for the signal for the window mode, we are going to go down into on window mode selected functionality. We are then going to emit that signal from here. Settings, signal bus dot emit underscore on window mode selected. Then we're going to pass through index. Clean that up a bit. Hit Control S to save. We already have one for the subtitles going. Now we need to go through into the sound. Let's go do the audio very quickly. So audio is going to be a bit different. We're going to have to do this on the on value changed, and we're going to have to pass through each index. Now, one very quick thing we can do here is use a match statement. So we can match the bus underscore index, and then we can match it to one of three buses, because that's kind of how it's indexed. So 0 will be set to the master bus, and the master bus will be signaling off the settings signal bus dot emit underscore on underscore master sound set. And now we're going to use the value here. Now we can go through and do the next one. I'm just going to use copy paste this, then change on master to on music. If I check my audio here, my audio buses, 0 is master, 1 is music. Now we just need the final one for SFX. Control 2. Change this SFX. Hit Control S to save, and very quickly go through. One that we're missing is the resolution. So let's go and open that up real quick. Go to scenes, the option menu, resolution mode or button script. Now on resolution selected, we are going to do the same thing with the signal or settings, signal bus dot emit underscore on underscore resolution selected, and pass through index. Hit Control S to save. Now that links up all of our signals correctly. So that will be how we kind of centralize and save all of our data. In the next video, we will handle the loading of the data and how we will reset all of our data to actually all of that loaded data that we've actually kind of pulled back in. So for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.